Hey, welcome back to Midas Letter Live. My guest this segment is William Simpson. He's the CEO of Golden Leaf Holdings, trading on the Canadian Stock Exchange under the symbol GLH. William, thank you for joining us today via Skype.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
William, let's start with an overview. You've recently taken over the role of CEO of Golden Leaf Holdings. Tell me how that happened.
Yeah, so I founded a company called Chalice Farms in Oregon. We built it up to approximately 4 retail stores. We had a couple under construction, why I use approximately. We had 3 farms at the time, a full edible line, oil and tincture. And we had so much consumer acceptance, we wanted to take it to the next level. We wanted to take it into other states, other markets, internationally. And we were looking at doing either an IPO, another large private placement. And Golden Leaf approached me and said that, they could be the vehicle to accomplish that, basically giving us access to the Canadian public markets so we could expand upon a proven model of what we were accomplishing in the Pacific Northwest.
So you essentially sold your company to Golden Leaf Holdings.
Exactly.
And then you took over as management.
We did.
Well,
the new board that came in decided the management team of Chalice was more of a natural fit within the industry. Old management moved on to some other things, and we wish them well, of course. Right. But I can tell you the only thing left of Golden Leaf Holdings as an old is really the ticker symbol and some outstanding shares. But it really is the entire Chalice management team currently running the company, as well as some other new talented individuals that we brought on to help with that endeavor.
Okay. The big news in the cannabis space from where we sit in Oregon anyways is that there's a sort of race to the bottom going on in the price of cannabis. How are you going to mitigate against that for your shareholders, and how do you survive in that environment?
Yeah, so we are definitely seeing that happen. And right now, to our advantage, we're not producing, I should say cultivating, any cannabis in Oregon at the moment. So we are buying from the market to put that flower onto our retail shelves, as well as an input into all of our extraction, our distillates for our edible lines. So it's working in our favor in the Oregon market at the moment. And I have seen a turnaround starting to happen. There have been more cultivation licenses that have been relinquished in the past couple months than new licenses coming in. So I see that consolidation happening at an expedited rate and turning around, which is great timing for us to bring online our Oregon cultivation facility to have our basically our own estate select cannabis. It's like the wine industry. They have their own small production grapes on site, and then they'll buy mass production grapes from other people. I see cannabis being very similar. People want the branded cannabis product on the shelf to be from Chalice, but then we'll also buy from the market and other small producers as well.
Okay, interesting. So the survival mechanism then is to not grow cannabis when the price of cannabis is low, acquire it from other operators who are growing cannabis, focus on providing the consumer product where there's still a margin.
Correct. Yeah, vertical integration is really the key. It mitigates all the different segment pressures depending on if cultivation goes down or oil pricing drops or retail becomes very competitive. When you have everything in the value chain in your model, it really allows for a more successful growth process. And of course, in a highly competitive environment like Oregon, anything that is successful in this market, when we take that process, move it into other markets like Nevada, California, Canada, and continuing, it proves to be successful. Because if, like, for instance, our fruit chew, it's the first wholesome fruit chew that we've seen on market. It's vegan, has 0 artificial flavor or color, and is wildly successful. It's super flavorful. And that product, being that demand is outpacing our manufacturing capabilities right now. We're doubling our capacity week over week, and we can't keep up with it in Oregon, which again is a super saturated market, very competitive place. So when we take that product and we launch it into Nevada, hopefully in the next month, and then into California, if we move to a definitive agreement with that letter of intent that you have all seen, that's going to be very exciting to see that product expand.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that what's happening now in the Oregon market is going to happen in California once it gets a full head of steam up?
I believe it will. I've had some meetings with some large operators in California, and they seem to say that it's already starting to happen. There's such a large medical market that has been in play there for such a long time. The price of flower is already suppressed comparatively to Nevada, for instance. Nevada's done it differently. Of course, they put a cap on licensing at the time, so it's a unique marketplace. But I do see that happening in California. And again, learning from what we've gone through in Oregon, I think we're poised to be able to tackle that issue well.
Sure. Do you think that if there was a federal law permitting cross-border sales of cannabis products, would that actually help or hinder the situation with the excess of cannabis on the supply side?
Well, I mean, I think it would help in certain markets. I mean, obviously, Oregon would gain a lot from the federal, I should say, descheduling, because people know that the cannabis in the Pacific Northwest, at least on a connoisseur level, is of a very high quality. And so markets like, Florida or Texas, Arizona, where they don't have as much quality product, I believe there'd be a high demand. Now, I don't see California buying a lot of Oregon cannabis just because they have such a robust program again themselves. I do see a lot of Midwest and East Coast states purchasing that flower if that happened.
Okay, so in the next, call it 12, 24 months, do you think that the supply side of Oregon cannabis is going to contract and thereby giving you your window of opportunity to launch your grow facility? I mean, you've said that is the case, but do you think, is it going to be a case of expansion and contraction continuously like an accordion, or do you think that it's going to sort of level out at some point as the state perhaps realizes it's not in their best interest to license so much capacity?
I believe you're correct. I believe the state realizes that the overproduction is an issue with diversion. It's the last thing that anyone in the industry wants when you're running a compliant business and growing it. You don't want the bad actors taking down an entire industry with a microscope from the federal government. So I know the legislature and the agencies around all of the licensing understand this issue, and I don't see them expediting approvals on cultivation licensing. So I do believe it'll contract and stabilize somewhat. I do believe it's going to take, a year or two more. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow, but it will slowly become healthier.
Right. Okay. And so what is the strategy for Golden Leaf going out the next 12 and 24 months? What is your balance sheet going to look like in 12 and 24 months?
Well, that's hard to say. We have a lot of warrant conversions right now. Currently, as I stated, in New York, our balance sheet is approximately $17 million. We do have a lot of that capital earmarked for accretive acquisitions, some of which we have just put out letters of intent, which the world has seen. Which those are very accretive acquisitions, though. They will add a lot to our top line as well as to the bottom. And I'm going to be very excited to be able to report those things as they come out. But I do believe, we're going to have enough capital. It just depends on how fast we want to grow. Right now, we have to be very strict in the use. That's why we're focusing on high return markets like Nevada. We're very excited to expand everything that we've done in the Oregon marketplace into that market. We have cultivation extraction right now. Our pens are going out into the market. We're launching our fruit chews. We're expanding cultivation there through an acquisition, which we announced, I guess that was a week ago now. And then in California, same thing. We're taking our vertically integrated model and we're expanding it into those markets, as well as Canada. We also just announced the franchising deal that we are working on with Blackshire Capital. And so that's going to be a very exciting thing. We can take our brand and expand our distribution model across the country and in other states. And so we're really excited about that for the shareholder return for sure.
Sure. Okay, that's great, William. We're going to leave it there for now. It's great to hear that you've taken the reins at Golden Leaf. I'm excited to see what you do with the company. We'll come back to you in a quarter's time and see how you're doing. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thank you, James, very much. Appreciate being on the show.